Hey everyone, it's Jenna. Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm gonna give you all an updated kitchen tour because I realized it's been a long time since I've shown my kitchen in its entirety on this channel. So I kind of wanted to walk you through, give you some updates, and show you some fun styling tips and ideas that will help give your space a high-end designer feel, but also function really practically at the same time. So should be a fun video, and without further ado, let's get into the tour. Okay, so I first just want to start with the island, and I truly get so many questions about these counter stools, and we've had these for almost 3 years now, and they've held up super well. When picking out counter stools, I wanted something that would add a little bit of warmth and contrast because our kitchen is so overwhelmingly white. So I wanted something that would add a little bit of visual interest and a pop of contrast, and I feel like these do that really well because when coupled with this white countertop and our white cabinets, the woven material just adds a lot of warmth and visual interest. I also like the black legs on these because it ties in that black accent that we have going on throughout the rest of the kitchen. And when picking out counter stools, something with a back was a must, just because I wanted people to be able to sit here for long periods of time and feel really comfortable and, you know, have a drink and relax while someone's making dinner. And I find myself doing work here a lot, and Mike always sits here while I'm making dinner. So I really love these, and not only are they really pretty, but I find them to be very practical as well. And then these pendants we actually put in ourselves. They were very affordable. They were on Wayfair. I had seen some black pendants that I loved in one of Studio McGee's designs, and I just love the contrast that it added to the space. It made it feel very like, I don't know, like Napa Valley-ish, I guess. I don't know, I really loved it. So I tried to search for something that was a little bit more affordable. They're a great size for a small to medium size island. Our countertops are quartz. I really like quartz. I feel like it's super durable. We did a new build, so we didn't have a ton of options available to us, but I think this was one of 2 white marbles that we could pick. So we went with this one, and originally I had the whole kitchen with this white countertop, and then last minute I was like, you know what, that is so much white. I just want a little bit of visual interest and some variation. So we switched to do 2-tone countertops where we have the island in this light white quartz, and then the cabinets against the wall are in this Cabrini gray, which is like a faux concrete kind of look. And I absolutely love it. It looks very stone-like, and I kind of am regretful that I didn't do the entire kitchen with that because I really love the look of it. And it's a little bit more practical than white countertops, just because obviously white shows every little speck of everything. But I guess on the bright side, when you clean it, you know that it's really clean. And then I just wanted to talk about our statement vase on this island. I love to do just a simple statement vase on an island. Whenever I see designers styling islands, they typically just use one big statement vase with some very twiggy stems just to kind of create some movement and a place for your eye to land. So that's kind of what I try to recreate here, but I really do also like to style in groups of 3. So that's kind of what I always choose to do on my island. This beautiful vase was from Wayfair. I don't think it is available right now, but I will link something similar, or if I can, link the one that's out of stock, so then you guys can sign up for the in-stock emails. But I love me a good rustic vase. If you follow the channel, you guys are well aware. I just love anything with that kind of old, chippy, worn look. It gives off that kind of casual European vibe, which I'm totally into. And that's why I chose these olive stems for here as well, just because olive stems remind me of Greece. I had an amazing time studying abroad there, so that always kind of brings me back to that and reminds me of my travels. So these are actually from Magnolia, and I found these on our trip to the silos. I do have a video on that. So I saw these there, and then I snagged them on a Black Friday sale, and I love how realistic these look. I think I have 5 of those stems in here, and I just love the movement that it adds. And then I always just do a simple bowl with some bowl filler. The bowl is from HomeGoods, and then the bowl filler is from Amazon, and I love that it's just a handmade palm leaf artichoke, something very natural and earthy, but also unique at the same time. And I also find that islands are a perfect spot for a candle because, at least for us, it's very centrally located within our living space. So it's the perfect spot to put it so it's evenly dispersed throughout the room, and you can kind of smell it from the living room, the dining room, here, wherever. So I love my sand and fog candles from TJ Maxx and HomeGoods. I have a huge cabinet with a bunch of them just ready to go for each season. Okay, so moving on to the sink area. This is pretty simple, but I did want to touch on a couple things. This area over here is blank right now, but normally we just have a simple dishcloth. I usually try to pick one that's kind of lighter in color so it blends in with our countertop. We used to have like one of those plastic dish racks there, which it was okay, but it would always always just get a ton of gunk in it, like with water sitting in it and everything. And it looked kind of like an eyesore. So I just did away with it probably about a year ago now. And I just put out a simple dishcloth, which is nice because once all the dishes are dry, I can just put the dishcloth in the wash and we just kind of, you know, rotate them out. So I find that to be a lot more practical and a little bit more minimal and less clutter and just easy. If guests are coming over or whatever, I just take the dishcloth away and wipe that area up. And then I get a lot of questions on our faucet. This is actually motion activated. So like if you turn it on and then I want to turn it off, I just tap it. The only thing that I found that's really annoying about it is it does just automatically turn off after a while. So like if we're doing dishes, I don't know what it is. I want to say it's like 40 seconds or something, but if we're doing dishes, it just turns itself off and then you have to press it again to turn it back on, which kind of gets annoying. But I will say the touch feature is pretty cool and this was relatively affordable. So I love the gold accent and I just like that it has this pull hose and then, you know, you can do I call it the sharp spray where it just like basically sprays back into your face. But when it comes to hand soap and dish soap, I have this really cute like little crackle ceramic tray that I got from Target. I believe it's still available. So I will link that below as well as anything from this video that can be linked. I'll link it in the description. But I find this to be really practical because it's easy to wash. You can throw it in the dishwasher and it's very water resistant. So I love that. And then I just have this Castelbell Wild Honey soap right now. I love the little gold seal that's on these Castelbell ones. I get these at TJ Maxx. They're like $4 or $5, so pretty affordable and they always smell really good. And then when it comes to dish soap, I found this at TJ Maxx, I believe, and it was, you know, $5 or $6, but it's in this really pretty amber glass and I love the kind of apothecary look to it. So I see a lot of designers using like the apothecary soaps and dish soaps in their spaces because obviously it's something that we have to have out and use all the time. But I find things with kind of like this dark amber jar and, you know, a pretty label just look to be really nice and kind of spa-like. So I just constantly refill this when it runs out with cheaper dish soap, but I keep the container. So yeah, that's the sink area. We have, this is the Kohler apron front sink, I believe. And then we did get the little disposal button put right here, which is really convenient. Like when we're doing dishes, it's just super easy to press it and turn it off. We don't have to go under the sink or flip a switch or anything, which is really nice. They didn't have any in gold at the time. So I was like, okay, well, I guess I'll just work black accents into the space then. So I was kind of bummed that these would be mismatched, but I'm not one of those people where everything has to be matchy-matchy. I like a little bit of mixed metals in my space and I think that looks cool. So it ended up being fine. And then we also have this rug, and I know when it comes to rugs in kitchens, that's a very controversial subject. Some people don't like fabric on the floor in the kitchen with things getting dropped and splattered all the time, but I personally really love it because I like to have some padding under my feet when I'm cooking, and I think it really helps to soften the space and make it feel a lot more homey, and it's just a fun way to add a punch of pattern, especially with our kitchen just being so bright and white. And this is actually one of those low-lie rugs from TJ Maxx. I believe it was like $50 or so, and they always have a bunch of them on there in different patterns and colors and lengths. I love these rugs because they're basically like a pad, so they're not really like super woven or upholstered or anything like that. It's more of just like a pad that you can wipe off, which I love, but it looks like an expensive designer vintage rug, which is awesome. I love the pattern on here and how it's kind of faded to give it that old world vintage feel. All right, so now to the backsplash and range area. Over here, we just have my simple single serve Keurig maker. I'm the only coffee drinker in this household, so we don't need anything super big that takes up a lot of space. I like the gray color, how it just kind of blends into the countertop and is a neutral. And then next to it, I use this long tray for a little practical styling moment. And one of my biggest tips when styling a kitchen is to mix practical items, but make them aesthetic at the same time. So here we have a canister that I always use for my sugar. So I use a lot of sugar when cooking for some reason. Like I make a lot of sauces that just call for a little tablespoon. And I mentioned this in my last video, but it got so annoying to keep going into the pantry just to get a little tablespoon of sugar. So I was like, I'm gonna display it out on my countertop in a practical way. So that way when I'm cooking, it'll just be within arm's reach and I don't always have to go back into the pantry. So that's been really nice. And actually I've talked about this a lot on my channel before, but we have this little mini lamp here and it gives off so much light. We kind of made the regretful decision to not put under cabinet lighting when we did our new build. And at first I was really bummed about it because we didn't have a lot of light at night, but truly this has been such a game changer, and it was like $12 at Target. So I love this. I use it all the time when I'm cooking. And then I also like that it's very decorative and kind of makes the space feel a little bit more homey and cozy and styled. And that's the exact purpose of this greenery here. This is purely for aesthetics, but I always like to pop greenery on my countertop where I can. If it were a place that got more sun, I would definitely put like a basil plant here so I could double the fresh greenery with a practical cooking herb. I think that would be really fun, but I've tried that before and it dies pretty quickly. So we have this nice little faux plant from Target, which I love. And then our little oil cruet I use all the time when I'm cooking. This is probably my most used thing on this entire countertop other than the light, but I actually got this on Etsy and it's handmade by this guy. His Etsy name is KJF Pottery. I mentioned this several times on my channel, but I'm in a ceramics class myself, so this was very impressive to me. I love the kind of rusty brown tone of this clay and the simple white glaze, and these are really, really practical, so I definitely recommend him. I will link his Etsy shop below, but there's just something about having that handmade element on my countertop, which I really love. It helps soften the space a little bit and just keeps it feeling very homey and cozy, which is just what I tried to do with this grouping here. As far as this tray goes, I get a lot of questions on this. I think this was like a TJ Maxx or a Home Goods find, but I've seen a very similar one on Wayfair and you can order it in different lengths, so whatever size your countertop is. And I love this long skinny one just because it doesn't take up a ton of counter space, but it really does help the aesthetic and helps all of these items to seem a lot more intentionally styled together and just very organized. And then we have these ceramic salt and pepper shakers, which I love. They have that little white speckle look to them, and these are actually from World Market. They were a new arrival this year, and I had been looking for something like this for so long. I'd just been using the ugly plastic container for my salt, and I kept that out on my countertop for a long time, but I was looking for something that was larger in size and would be practical to use, and I found these and I thought they would be so cute. So I do use these all the time. They're great. And I like that they're within arm's reach when I'm cooking, so I can just put it right here and, you know, cook with that, and it's really convenient and also very aesthetic, which is nice. So moving on to the main range backsplash area. So again, because this area is so overwhelmingly white, I wanted to make sure that everything that I put on this wall, since it was kind of the focal point of the kitchen, I wanted to make sure that it added warmth and texture and character. So almost everything on this wall is vintage or an antique. And I have a really funny story about how when I was originally setting out to style this space, I found this inspiration picture on Pure Salt Interiors Instagram. They're one of my favorite designers, and they had this rustic breadboard propped against a backsplash. And I was like, oh my gosh, I love that breadboard. I'm gonna find something like that at Home Goods. And this is like before I was even educated or knew anything about vintage shopping or antiquing. I just thought that it was like this worn look that you could buy at the store. Like I truly thought that. It's really funny, but somehow I came to realize, oh, that's actually a vintage piece. I'm gonna have to go, you know, find one that looks like that at an antique or a vintage store. So that was even kind of hard to do. I know that there are some online sellers that sell them. Pottery Barn sells them, I know, but you don't really have control over which one they're sending you. So sometimes Etsy sellers have some antique breadboards on their site, and you can actually see a picture of the exact board that you'll be purchasing, which is nice. But I actually found these at a store in Blowing Rock, North Carolina, which is up near the Asheville area. So if you're ever in that area, you need to stop by Windward Antiques. They almost always have beautiful vintage breadboards, but it's kind of funny because they always repurpose the back. So I'll show you. You know, the front is all worn and old, and then they repurpose the back, which is so weird to me, but I'll take it. But yeah, this guy was $59, which I actually thought was a really good deal. The price tag's still on here, considering, you know, they sell them for a lot more online. So yeah, I just propped these up there to add some warmth to the backsplash. And I love the contrast of the 90-degree angles of the rectangle one with the softer edges of the round one. I think that looks really nice when they pair together. So then these were both antiques that I found at a local antique shop when I was shopping with my mother-in-law. So that's a really fun memory. And this I actually found as well in Blowing Rock at this place called The Last Straw. It's this cute little home decor store, and it's in an old church. So that is where I found this, but I believe they actually sell a similar one on Amazon, which I'll link below. And then I just popped these season neutral ferns in here, and I get so many questions on this rod. You guys, this is just a curtain rod from IKEA, and I just bought these little S hooks off of Amazon. But I will say, if you do this in your space, you really want to make sure that it is secure, because you do not want anything plopping down on your stuff while you're cooking and starting a fire. You really want to make sure that this is secure and isn't going to fall on you. So I attached mine through some holes that we had in this range hood. I like that this was cheap and easy to implement, and it is very sturdy up there. So I just bought these little S hooks off of Amazon, and that's where I attached all this stuff to the Backsplash. So it's just a great opportunity for me to add warmth and character to this kitchen space, especially since kitchens are known for being very cold and sterile, with a lot of the surfaces and materials that are commonly found in kitchens, like porcelain, stainless steel, marble, you know, things like that. They kind of have a cold feel to them. So it's nice to warm it up with some woods and some copper and some wovens. So moving on to this little area, I have this cute little spoon rest here, and I love it because it's made out of natural materials, therefore kind of helping my space to feel very down to earth and natural, which I love. And then I love this utensil crock. This is actually a pot that I got on McGee & Co, and I just use it to hold my utensils. I love the brown rustic look of it and how it kind of coordinates back to that rust brown earthy tone that we have going on throughout the rest of the Backsplash. And again, I take any opportunity that I can to incorporate some greenery. So I just found this mini vase at an antique store and popped some olive stems in there. And this is our home pod, which I use for timers when I'm cooking. So I'm always like, hey Siri, set a timer for 5 minutes.
5 minutes starting now.
Also, Mike gave her the Australian accent because he thought it was cool. So, and then as far as these go, I actually mentioned them in one of my most recent home decor hauls. These are actually a vintage piece. I was at my grandma's house for Christmas, and I saw this gorgeous set of stackable mugs that were actually a gift from my uncle back in like the 80s, I believe. And all the grandkids were oohing and aahing over them. And then my sister found out that you can actually buy them on eBay. So I bought a set that kind of matched my space. I love how they have this really pretty kind of blue tone in here, but still relate back to the earthy palette that I have going on in my space. I love these so much because they're a really fun conversation piece. They're vintage and they look really pretty out on my countertop, but I actually use them every day. So it's nice because it actually saves me on some cabinet space to have these out on my countertop. And it's also convenient because I'm always reaching for the coffee mugs. So it's kind of nice to have them out, honestly. The only thing that I might change, which I've mentioned before, is just this orangey red color. I might kind of sand it down and bleach it just so it's not so in your face orange, you know what I mean? But I really love these. They are Padilla stackable mugs, so I will try to link some on eBay if I can. And then these guys are actually storage books. So I've mentioned I really like to have that kind of European feel in my space, and a way to kind of subtly do that was to put some of my bucket list countries on the binding. So I haven't been to either of these places, but I really would like to go. So it's kind of just a fun reminder that, hey, you need to go there and plan that trip, which we still haven't done. I made these like 2 years ago, but just kind of a not so subtle way of getting that European vibe in our space, I suppose. But what I actually use these for is storage for our recipe cards. So we are big meal delivery service people, and this is where I use to store all the recipe cards. So we have them on hand. They're very accessible. And when I have a recipe that I want to recreate, because we don't always order them from the service, sometimes we'll recreate them. So it's nice to just have them all in here. The little gray ones just for show, but I do utilize this one a lot. And lastly, this area is not too exciting. We just have our little toaster oven, which I love this toaster oven. I've talked about this many times on my channel. I actually bought it just because it was the only thing with good reviews that was this small that could fit into this little awkward space. They do have this one in a bigger size as well, but I really love this. It's a perfect size for just Mike and I, and we've had it since we've moved in, which has been over 2 years, and it's held up really well. So love that. We have here, this is actually, everyone thinks this is a double oven, but this is our microwave, and then this is our oven. So it's just kind of a nice aesthetic way to have a microwave not over the range, which is kind of nice. I also really like having my microwave at eye level. I don't know why. It's just very convenient to like see everything that you're putting in, and you can watch it right there, so you don't have to bend down or anything like that. Also, I always talk about this on my channel as well, but it's really nice to just have an aesthetic set of oven mitts and a really nice hot pad, because there's not a lot of opportunities for soft fabrics and textiles in kitchens to help soften them other than like a rug or a hand towel. So I always like to have an aesthetic oven mitt and a little hot pad, just because because I like having them out and within arm's reach, so I always hang them off of my hardware, and they're just another way to add a pretty textile in to kind of act as a functional decor piece, which is really nice. And then over here we have the refrigerator, nothing too fancy. I have a very simple shopping list that I always keep out because it is very practical to just write things down as you need them, and it actually covers a dent that's on our refrigerator, because when this is open and this is open, it's not a good combo. So that happened to us once and we found out the hard way, and so now the shopping list goes over it. So it works. All right, everyone, that about wraps up this video. I hope that you enjoyed seeing this little updated kitchen tour. If you did, please give this video a thumbs up. It really does help to support my channel, and make sure you're subscribed because I post new home decor content every single week. So make sure you don't miss any more of that. And yeah, I just want to thank you all so much for watching this video, and I will see you all in my next one. Bye.